888-694-4184.
Sold, 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 sold.
That's right. It's In the Garden with Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. 622-9622 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Caller, she'll give you advice on anything you have that grows in dirt. Before we went to break, I wanted to ask you about, like my younger sister loves vegetable gardening.
Right.
But she got that from my grandma and my great-grandparents, who would take her when she was 6, 7, 8 years old. And she would walk with plastic buckets behind them in the little garden they had.
Right.
Say little garden, it was 2 acres.
Right. Truck garden.
But it was a garden.
Yeah.
And she would, they'd tell her which cucumbers to pull off the vine and everything like that. And so she fell in love with it that way.
Right.
So that's how it used to be done. You had either their parent or grandparent that would garden, or they would go out and do the flowers in their garden and everything.
Sure.
But is there stuff now where you can take a 7, 8, 9-year-old, if you don't have the ability to have a garden, or you don't have, flower beds, or say you live in an apartment or something, is there is the extension service and master gardening programs around that can offer children
a gardening experience?
Yes.
You have 4-H, which we don't hear a whole lot about 4-H until the youth fair show happens, and that's when you get to see the good kids in the community. These kids are, they work hard, both in school as well as with their projects, whether or not it's livestock, all the different livestock classes, but there's also gardening classes, the Seminole Gardens, and other activities as well. And it usually goes through the school year, but it's usually like based within that school year period, even though it does somewhat run year round. But I mean, if they just got, call up through the county extension and get in through the 4-H programs and find out if there's one at their local school. But there's also usually off and on, a lot of the elementary schools have gardening programs that go on, and that master gardeners usually help support those programs.
Because you go by 8th Street, you go by 8th Street, and there's a big garden out there with the bean wall and everything.
Right.
That always grows during the school year.
And some of that is, Osceola Middle is still right there, that they actually had some ag programs, in that school. But also in the elementary schools throughout the county. I don't know if they're in all of them, but there's quite a few of them, and that the teachers use it. It's ag in the classroom. Is a lot of different programs that are on there, and then when Master Gardeners have this coming year, we will actually have the Master Gardeners Spring Festival. Have it this year over at the Livestock Pavilion in March, and they usually run a very large children's program with different activities that can go on. I'm not sure if the YMCA offers children's outdoor activities like that anymore. I know years past that they did.
I know there's a West Ocala community garden that's right there on 40.
And that's a family kind of thing that the family signs up for a plot.
I was watching old, because I just got Paramount Plus.
Okay.
So now I'm going back and watching old stuff and everything.
Right.
And I was watching 60 Minutes.
Okay.
From about 13, 14 years ago.
Okay.
And they were talking about subdivisions that are being built around community gardens.
Yes.
And when I mean community gardens, I mean 10, 15 acres.
Right.
And then they built the houses in a circle around it.
Yeah.
And they're all using it to grow food and everything.
It's almost a communal type.
Right, it's like a commune almost.
It actually is. Right. And they may even have some smaller livestock like chickens and goats and things like that. Yeah. I think a few of those places still exist. I
would think that'd be a fantastic. but I wouldn't be able to get along with all my neighbors. That'd be my problem.
That's the hard part. Is a lot of times within a community garden, you find that some people come in with a great deal of interest to start out with, and then they realize that it does take some work. It does take dedication, and it's just like that whole thing of the New Year's resolution. How long does it take to drop a New Year's? I think they say, what, 3 to 5 weeks?
3 to 5 weeks, yeah.
It's
kind of like a college class project. You get 6 people assigned to the project. At the beginning of the project, 6 people are working on it. By the end of the project, you got the 2 people that are actually doing the project.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how a lot of times it goes with some of these type things. But it's there's a great deal that can be learned even in a lot of, well, obviously homeschool do a lot of things like that just because they've learned how to work their curriculums with it.
Say you live in an apartment or something, because a lot of kids live in apartments.
Oh, sure.
I could start like a herb garden.
You can
with
do
just some flat window boxes.
Windowsill herb gardens. You can do they have the little micro-tom tomatoes, which are little ones that you can do in a hanging basket, and they'll come down and do. A lot of stuff can be grown in containers. That's not a big
on your balcony at your apartment,
so
or your
long
porch.
as you've got a sunny spot for it, sure, you can do them.
I forgot about the hanging tomatoes.
Those little micro-toms that they'll tumble over, tumbling tom. Thumbelina, I think, is another one. That's a small.
So there's plenty of opportunity to get your kids involved.
There's a lot of different opportunity, and actually, if you've got, you can do a sensory garden. You can do the herbs, the fragrant herbs and things like that, lavender and scented geraniums and things like that, to where it's a touch scent mints. Watch out with mints. Mints can get invasive, but if you're growing in a container, you're usually pretty safe on that. But there's so many different things, and come up, don't just plant things because it's like, oh, we should grow tomatoes. Well, if the family's not a big tomato eater, maybe you might not.
Yeah, because you're wasting them.
You're wasting them, or tomatoes can be a little bit of work. They do have some issues. They can have some issues, but or say, oh, kids, radishes are so fast. Kids grow radishes. I don't know too many kids who really like radishes.
That's because they're not very smart.
Yeah, they're just,
Radishes are one of the greatest vegetables known to man.
Yeah, you gotta have it. They take sometimes, depending on the variety, they can be pretty spicy.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, but I mean, a 5-year-old's not gonna bite one of those.
They make horseradish out of them.
Yeah, well, not the same kind of thing. Not the same place.
I thought forever that. Yeah. And then somebody goes, "You're an idiot. That's not where they make horseradish from."
But a lot of kids love carrots. Carrots take a long time to grow.
Yes.
So they can get bored with it. But green beans are fast. Lettuce is fast.
Cucumbers are fast.
Cucumbers are, they're right around there with the beans.
Yeah, and they're viney.
But a lot of times kids don't like cucumbers, but they like pickles. So you have to figure out how to do.
Well, there's
pickles.
2 projects. You teach them to grow the cucumbers and how to pickle them.
Yep.
Just don't do it the way Aunt Bee did them. They weren't good. They weren't good. No. Barney and Andy had to eat bad pickles. It wasn't good.
No, don't do that. But actually, if you've got a jar of pickles that are almost empty and you slice up a cucumber and throw it in there,
it'll pickle.
Yeah, it will pickle. It has to sit there for a little bit, but it will become
a
pickle.
One of my favorite things as a kid growing up was we would take fresh cucumber slices and just put them in a bowl of vinegar and let them sit in the refrigerator overnight.
Yeah.
And then eat those cucumbers.
See, I like to do mine with just Italian dressing.
Yeah, same deal.
Slice of cucumber, a little slice of onion, actually chop tomato in there.
And let it sit overnight.
Actually, I throw it and take it for lunch. Put a little container, just take it for lunch. Get a little shake. There you go. It's salad.
But it's to get kids involved, you have to do something that's going to show some results.
Exactly.
That's why carrots are so bad, because carrots are terrible.
Carrots take so long. But sometimes, too, when you get kids involved, I think it's, is it Bonnie? One of them. And Bonnie Herbs and Vegetables, you see them on the storefronts of Walmart and Lowe's and all the different places all have Bonnie, that they have kids programs too. They're online kind of things and competitions, but they'll do like their big cabbage. And so that's one of those things that growing one of the biggest ones. It's not just having, we grew lettuce for the salad, or we grew some cucumbers for the salad.
Look at this cabbage we grew.
Look at the size of this cabbage I grew. Sunflowers are fun. And sunflowers, especially like the mammoth giants,
The
you
ones
take
that
it,
are like
that are dinner plate size,
Right.
and they're 12 and 14 feet tall. That you can actually watch them.
somebody grows a
grow.
big field of those in
Yeah.
Palatka.
Yeah.
And every when I go to St. Augustine,
Yeah.
I really just want to
It's
stop the
just-
car and
yeah.
get out and run through that sunflower
Run through the
field.
sunflower. It's it's pretty impressive, but it can be fun too, because you could take a plastic flower pot, one that you could easily cut the bottom out of, and start it in a pot. Say something like that's maybe just 4 or 5 inches across, and then once it starts getting taller, take it and cut the bottom out and put most of it in the ground, and then you've got this giant sunflower growing out of this little teeny
Little
pot,
pot, yeah.
and it's just kind of cute.
People are like, "How in the world did
How'd
you
you
do that?"
do that? Yeah, now most of that pot's gone, but just the top sticking there in the ground and a little bit fun.
The reason I ask you about that though is, as we go towards more, as more and more families are going towards organic and everything, more and more families are going towards growing their own vegetables
Right.
and everything. You got to make kids like it,
You do,
or they're
And-
going to
and-
fight you the whole time.
And actually, I think when kids can begin to grow their own vegetables, they actually eat more of them. They're more apt to try them.
Because I grew it.
Because I grew this. How can we cook it? And I even tell adults now. I mean, I tell my own daughters, is every so often, one of those foods that you didn't like, try it. Try it somebody else. Maybe you don't like the way I cooked it, but maybe you'll like the way someone else does it.
I will tell you this, contrary to marketing and commercials, broccoli is not better with Velveeta poured on it. Okay? It's not.
Broccoli is just good, just the way it is.
Broccoli is
Raw,
fantastic.
steamed, yes. But
I have a friend of mine that had her son when he's 5, 6 years old. You would offer him a piece of candy.
Oh,
He goes, I don't want that. I want the good stuff. And it was broccoli.
right.
He thought broccoli was better than candy.
My brother called saltine crackers cookies, because my mom, that
love
was a
saltine
good. So
the townhouse
they're that's But no, it's some of those ways, and I mean, there's a lot of different cookbooks geared at children, and actually Lego. At best of my knowledge, and I don't think they've stopped this. I mean, COVID may have slowed it down. Legoland
down in
Winter
Garden.
In the resort, in the hotel, they actually, it's, how now most of the time we go out to eat, it's kids meal free with the
Right.
purchase of 2. Well, no, there's down there in Legoland, it's parents eat free with the purchase of the
2
children,
kids, right.
2 kids meals. And you're paying a fortune for the kids meals, but that's, but it's all fresh, locally sourced produce, meat, eggs, all of that stuff is all, if not Florida grown, it's pretty darn close.
Right.
And they do kids workshops in the kitchen.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And that was one of those
Probably
things
with
I thought-
COVID it went away, but
It
it'll
will
probably bring
probably
it back.
work its way back into, or they had to make it much smaller. But it was like learning different things where they would make your cocktails are actually kid cocktails, but the adults can get it
with an
adult
beverage, yeah.
mixed to it.
Well, that's like people don't realize that 40% of all the vegetables cooked and prepared at all restaurants on Disney property are grown at Disney World.
Or they are locally sourced
Right.
from
Right. It's not all of it.
Right.
But
there's
and
that
somebody goes,
percent.
well, if they grow that much there, why is it well? Because it's Disney. They're still going to gouge
Exactly.
you. Still gonna
Because
gouge
they
you, but-
have to, because they are providing you with produce that is that fresh.
When you go to that this land of ours or whatever at Epcot, and they show you the hydroponic cucumbers
Yeah,
and lettuce and
yeah.
all, they're literally on the cutting edge
Right.
of all of this, trying to figure out ways to grow stuff in deserts and stuff like that.
Right. In climates and in smaller footprint because you can grow vertically, you can grow more in I think it's 100 square foot area or something like that than you
That's
can
2
in an
stories
acre.
high.
That you
Exactly.
can in an acre of land and,
Well, yeah.
and use less resources to do it.
I mean, if I can go 10 foot, 12 foot high, and I can do it in 100 square feet,
yeah.
I can grow a lot there.
Yes.
And when you go and you see these eggplants that are hanging out of these baskets and these tomatoes that,
Yeah, they're all perfectly sized.
Right.
Yeah, perfectly sized. Now, yes, they do go through, and there is a process. They are not necessarily organic, but they are usually pesticide free because there's no need for pesticide. But to grow hydroponically, usually you are using a synthetic fertilizer base. But the plant itself does not know where its nitrogen source came from. So, the plant itself doesn't mind. It's, a matter of that it's fresh, it's pesticide free, it's grown locally. So it's all a good thing.
One of my friends just texted that he's saying he likes broccoli. He wouldn't eat it if it was deep fried in chocolate sauce. Wrong. I actually love broccoli.
I love
It's one of my
broccoli.
favorite
Yes.
vegetables.
My
My favorite vegetable, believe it or not, is asparagus. Oh,
asparagus is good.
And
I love broccoli.
my wife just baked some asparagus wrapped in bacon.
bake it, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
I love asparagus. I love artichokes.
Artichokes are good. Yeah.
I like vegetables in general.
Yeah.
I just don't like
yeah.
vegetables when you go to an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet. Like the guy that texted in, we went to an
Yeah.
all-you-can-eat seafood
Yeah.
buffet one time. He comes back. I come back with crab legs and everything.
Yeah.
He comes back with a salad. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I love vegetables, just not the all-you-can-eat seafood buffet.
But good steamed up broccoli, a little butter, a little salt, and that's about all.
That's all you gotta have.
Or a little season all on there. That's good.
You get some, you get some
Actually, no, I
fresh
did do
green
my-
beans and blanch them in some
Yeah,
water and
yeah.
stuff. Oh,
And I too love spinach.
I love spinach.
And I like canned spinach.
Stop it.
Yes. You just drain that stuff real
You
good.
probably
lots
you
of butter
probably
and
eat
salt.
greens out of cans too.
I
don't
can
you?
do that too. I can do
Oh.
that too. I
Well, you're
love
from the
them fresh.
north,
Yeah,
though.
but
You're
I,
from
yeah.
the north, you know.
It was, I mean, I love
You
spinach.
probably
I can eat them
you
both
probably
ways.
eat boiled peanuts out of a can.
Oh no, I don't do that. No, can't
Good
do
morning. You're on with Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin.
that. It's got to be Silver
Good
Queen
morning,
corn.
Tom and Carol Ann.
Good morning.
What a beautiful day.
It is.
Joe, how are you, brother?
For you. Hey, not bad for an old guy.
For those that don't know, this is Joe, avid listener to the phone, and a guy who helped us out with Toys for Tots by lending a hand. His good friend Santa Claus lent him a suit, and
there
he was
you go.
able to
Yeah.
he was
Be
able to help us
yeah.
out.
And it was a privilege to be invited to do that. We had a good time.
We did have a good time despite the cold and rain.
Yeah.
You got a question for Carol Ann, Joe?
Yeah, I do. Carol
Okay.
Ann, I know this is a little early,
Yeah.
but I don't like weed and feed, but I do like some form of weed herbicide that's safe to use, that's somewhat friendly. When can we start applying something like that?
Are you talking about for like the flower beds or the lawns?
The lawn.
The lawn, I would, if you can find one that is, I think there are some coming out on the market. I just haven't done much reading up on them that are safe and effective for use on lawns. Usually we begin in February, whether or not it's the synthetic kind of things that we're spraying on the lawn for the weeds, or not the weed and feed, but just the actual weed control, or some of the ones that are a little more earth friendly. I've seen them in the store. I just haven't had opportunity to really read up on them or study up on them, so I'm not sure that how they're applied. But I'd say February.
Well, no doubt, as we get closer, you will reveal all that information.
I will, because I just started, because a lot of this stuff's just now starting to come into the stores because the holidays are over, and so springtime is next on the agenda.
Well, yeah, and I'm looking for something that's pet friendly and children friendly.
Okay. And so, yeah, but something that you can do as a turf, like an all-over turf weed killer, or one that you're going to go through and spot?
All over.
All over? Okay, I'll take a look and see what's in there, because I know I saw something the other day. If we're not too slamming busy, I'll get working on it possibly today when I get to work.
And your Facebook page, In the Garden,
Yeah.
I look forward to a new post all the time.
Well, I appreciate that. And I enjoy yours too for sharing. And I invite everybody to share onto the page. That's what it's there for.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a beautiful day.
Joe, you as well.
Too,
Thanks for the call.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Joe's a good guy.
Yeah.
I've known Joe a while.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday you'll find him in a Hawaiian shirt.
Okay.
That's
just a thing.
Tradition he's been doing for years.
That's it. Hey.
And he really did help us out with Toys for Tots.
Yeah.
But he had on shorts and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what shorts? He goes, we live in Florida. Now, it was cold and rainy that night. I go, yeah, but it's cold. He goes, look, I got it from Australia. I was like, makes sense. It's summertime in Australia during Christmas,
true.
so Santa would be in shorts.
Yeah, that's
Makes perfect sense.
Right.
Perfect sense. So, yeah, but when people are starting to talk, are people more starting to become, are you finding people are becoming, is it finally getting through? People are becoming more conscientious about nitrates and stuff, and they're going to try to find more pet-friendly and environmental-friendly weed control.
I think they
are.
And fertilizer. Yeah, I do believe they are. I know where I work, and everybody knows the big box chain I work for. They are getting in more products that are either just a little more environmentally friendly or organic, and I'm sure that's based upon demand. That those of us in the store, we have no control over what is purchased for use in that store. That all those decisions are made corporately. And so it takes, a lot of that has to come down to that enough people communicated to the corporate offices that this is what they wanted, and that now that there's a lot more different products that are available, and looking that they're not all the same, because a lot of times when you're looking at pest control, it's all the same stuff.
It is all the same stuff.
It's all the same stuff. It's just packaged a little bit differently and a different price point.
Good morning. You got about a minute and a half. You're on with Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin.
I'll speak for less than a minute and a half. Tom, this is Don O calling. A quick question for Carol Ann.
Yeah.
Do y'all carry palm trees there at Bob Wine's nursery?
Oh.
She doesn't work at Bob Wine's, but I know
they
do
carry
carry
palm
trees.
some, but I'm not sure which ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and they do plant them for you.
They do.
Yeah, Bob Wine's will
comes with a guarantee,
yep.
6 month guarantee.
6 months guarantee. All right, thank you. And Carol Ann, if you see Joe, tell her to give Tom a raise.
Okay.
Yeah. I need one.
Someone needs to tell my boss I need
but
one.
Speaking of palm trees.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about a tree that can get very expensive depending on the size.
Yes, they can get very expensive.
Quick.
Yes.
Because we had to replace two. When we did the mellow mushroom up in Gainesville, we had the city horticulturalists come out.
Right. Yeah, when you were clearing the property. Yeah.
They told us we had to, and she said we had to put 2 4-foot sagos.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were the most, out of all the shrubbery and trees and all we put in, the 2 most expensive things we bought were those 4-foot sagos.
Yeah. And the worst thing is that those things are so toxic and then riddled with issues with scale. It's
but
like
that's what they told us we had to put them in.
You had to put in. And that's, probably today they're probably gone.
No, they're still there.
Are they still there?
I was in Gainesville yesterday.
Okay.
Drove right by there. Now they're now about 8.5-foot sagos.
Wow.
But that was 20-some-odd years ago that we put them in there. And they're still right there on the corner, right next to the sidewalk. So they're the root system's eventually going to bust that sidewalk up.
Right in that area. It's not like some of the other. It's not like
but
other trees
they're like
that go,
right at the corner.
Yeah.
So I know some of their roots are already under the sidewalk.
Yeah. But
it's not like a pine tree,
right? That's or an oak that's
water
just gonna
oak,
that's just gonna push them up. Excuse me, but it's just one of those things. Surprising that it just as the issues with them. And that the whole thing that the branches, the seeds are both toxic to animals, and
we had to take 2 Japanese cherry trees down, Japanese cherries, and we had to replace them with sagos. That's what we replaced them with, because they said the Japanese cherries were invasive.
No, then that was a Chinese tallow.
Chinese tallow, that's what it was. Chinese tallow.
Yeah.
Carol Ann, how can people find you?
They can find it on the In the Garden Facebook group page, and down there at work, down there at Lowe's on Lady Lake.
Carol Ann Baldwin, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin, joins us every Tuesday taking your calls. She'll be back next Tuesday. Caroline, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, and all the listeners out there.
Coming up next, he may be here somewhere or he may be busy. Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Auto, right here on WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Strong weather sweeping parts of the United States brought frigid temperatures to the Pacific Northwest, heavy snow to the mountains in Northern California and Nevada. In fact, 6 inches of snow was reported in Seattle, Washington on Monday. Warm weather will continue through the southeast. As the pandemic enters its 3rd year, the National Governors Association met Monday. The White House is now asking states to step up and address the pandemic.
Look, there is no federal solution. This gets solved at a state level. I'm looking at Governor Sununu on the board here. He talks about that a lot. And it ultimately gets down to where the rubber meets the road, and that's where the patient is in need of help.
It should be noted White House officials kicked the media out of the room before we could hear Biden take questions from governors on COVID-19. Monday Night Football last night, the Dolphins beat the Saints 20-3. USA Radio News.
Hi, this is Wayne Allen Root. John and Chelsea Jubilee with Energized Health are regular guests on my show, sharing their breakthrough science of intercellular hydration. They help people burn fat fast, supercharge their energy, boost their immune system, reverse ailments and diseases with no painful exercises and no restrictive fad diets. I'm Exhibit A. I've been on the program for over a year now. During the first 88 days, I lost 25 pounds of inner body fat, and I gained 10 pounds of muscle, and I've never gained the fat or weight back. I look and feel great. Everywhere I go, people tell me I look 10 years younger. Right now, John and Chelsea are giving my fans a special Christmas gift, and they've extended this special through